Welcome back, South by East fans, friends, and fam, to the intersection with another traffic report where we talk about the culture, scriptures, everything in between, and how they impact us in South, East, Topeka. John, what we got today?
Today, man, we got this clip from another just fantastic comedian, Marcus D. Wiley. And I go back, know Marcus a little bit, even from my time in Topeka. And so I got to introduce him at a comedy show we held. He was the headliner. And so incredibly funny guy.
Nice.
One of those guys that used to be a professor at Texas Southern University. And then his comedy career just took off. And he took that step, man, and made it in. And so he sent this clip today, man, talking about how sometimes we can get entrenched in a mindset and it can actually cause us to be broke.
I like that. Let's check it out.
You got folk who come to churches and they be in need. You know, they do. I'm talking about some of them legit ones too. They be in need. You know, and when they come to the church, you know, let's say they need like a job. You know. And the thing about it, in the pews, it's people with jobs. Managers and supervisors. But they never know. Because we don't talk. I read this book. I'm going to paraphrase it. It's like church folk. It said, church folk kind of, I don't want to say dumb, but church folk kind of, for lack of a word, dumb. They say because what we do is we drive to church same way. Park, same parking spot. Sit, same seat. Talk, same people. And pray for something different.
Oh, man, that was a heater. You know,
Go ahead.
this short thing, man. I was thinking, like, why would we do that? And I thought about it, and I was like, it's more comfortable. And I think people underappreciate the value of shifting perspective. And this is not a high level thing. This is a very practical thing. When we sit at church, my wife always laughs. She's like, "Who's such?" I'll bring somebody up, and she's like, "Who's such and such?" Which is kind of funny because in our staff meetings, I'm the person who's always like, "Who's such and such?" so we two P's say pod, but she's like, "Who's such and such?" I don't know who that is. I'm like, and I'll be like, "Babe, they sit 2 rows behind us," and she's like, "Oh, I don't ever see nobody." Because she sits on the front row every time. That's better for her to be able to focus. And I laugh because I'm like, I know everybody that sits, especially people that sit directly around us, because most of the time I'm in the same area, facing the opposite direction. And like the difference that a slight change in perspective makes, and often we undervalue how much we could benefit from dealing with the slight discomfort of change to get a radically different perspective.
How many people from the church have I hired to do different jobs?
A lot.
My personal investments, who manages those?
Is that Kendall? Doesn't Kendall do your personal investment? Yeah.
Where do we know Kendall from?
The church.
Okay. This year we got someone to sponsor giveaway for Summer Fireworks Extravaganza. I met them because they were doing some work for me, which they did some work for somebody else I knew. The thing that kills me sometimes as a pastor, Brail, is that I'll have people that I know have needs, that there's somebody in the body who can meet that need. But I can't get them to be in a community group. I can't get them to serve on a serve team. They want to come in a couple minutes after the first song began and leave before benediction. Or weekly challenge.
Right.
And they don't really want to mix and get to know people. And then they'll have these needs that exist, and when it gets dire, they'll come and they'll be like, I need help.
All right.
And it's one of those deals where I'm like, well, God has given you the tool that's right for this situation. The tool is called the church.
Right.
The pastor and the staff are not the church.
Right.
We are a part of the
church.
But you have refused to use this tool in your life. And I'm not saying you should engage with the church to try to get something out of it. But what I'm saying is,
right,
you'll go to seminars and pay for things that teach you how to network. When the scriptures, all of the scriptures are about how to exist in community and live in relation to one another and to God.
Mm-hmm.
That's networking.
Yep.
You'll pay for classes to teach you leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all the scriptures talk about being a disciple, which is all about teaching you how to grow in your leadership skills. If you would step into those roles and God, mentoring.
Yep.
I mean, it's
all there.
But rather than to naturally benefit from the environment that God has placed you in and to grow in that, you rather go pay someone. For a resource that God has given you for free.
And you know what? Like there's something to say about people and why they do the things they do, how they get into the ruts they get into, because this happens outside of the church too. Yeah. But there's an additional grievance for me that comes when we do this with the church. And I want to be real. I have utilized a lot of the resources in the church most of my life, but I didn't do it intentionally with the understanding of what we're talking about right now. So I don't want to fake that I'm doing this from perspective of like, I don't get why y'all do this. Like I do. I've done it. I get it. And there's an additional grievance that happens when we do this in the church because we belie the power of the church to the world. When I was praying a few months ago. Me and my wife were talking because of things that I've been doing with my job here at the church. I had these different resources of this SEL team. We have a social emotional learning team. I was getting ready to put out another album, and I felt like, man, God was really calling me to say something about mental health. So I went and talked to the therapist and said, hey, could y'all help me refine this album to where it be a mental health resource? And then for 2 years, I worked with them while doing some other things to get this together. And then I got it together and it came through and it came out and started impacting people's lives. Kids started getting into therapy. I was like, man, this is fire. This is what I've always wanted. Praise God. We're doing it and we're doing it through the church. And then I realized on the business side, I was lacking. Mm-hmm. And as I talked to the resources and the people that I had, people that are connected to the church, they were like, man, I can help you with this part, but the music side, it's a different field. And I kept talking to people, I kept getting that answer, and I was like, okay, I need a specialist. I need to work with somebody who's a specialist. So I was like, all right, I used to have a mentor, I'll hit them up. I'm kind of busy right now. Next week, I'll hit them up, see what prices look like. I've got a little money set aside from some money I made from music. We'll do that. Well, I get an email or a DM from that person's assistant, and they're like, hey, we got this crazy, how you doing? We got this crazy opportunity. Here's what it looks like. And it was like everything I talked to my wife, we made a list, we were praying about what we wanted God to show us, how we wanted to level up, what we're gonna ask. It was like boom, 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 everything. I was like, oh my gosh, how much is this gonna cost me? They were like, it is $10,000. I said, okay. It's like, we can't do that. I'm like, God, you gotta show me where the money comes from. I came back out. My wife was like, hey, I got a plan. It could work. I got an idea. We could at least entertain it. I said, all right, I'll entertain it. But we need to bring in some people from the body to pray with us. Reached out to a network of different people from the body. It was like, hey, I need y'all to pray with us on this. This is what we're looking at. I don't know how this is going to materialize, but it just seems like God might be leading us this way. We want to look at some options. In 3 days, someone from the church said, I will pay for it all. I went back to that person and I was like, hey, listen, I need to know what the time requirement is and all this. And they were like, man, I believe in your mission and what you want to accomplish through your music so much that we'll waive some of the time requirements for you to be able to be a part of this program. If someone from your church believes in this enough to cover it for you, I feel like there's something greater at part. These are non-believers. They're like, I've never seen a community that supports a vision like this. I wish I had this. And when we walk past the resources that God has given us day in and day out, we belie the power that God has given the church to transform not just our lives, but the world around us, bro.
Brail, the reason I am debt-free today is because Giovanna Swisher was the mom of 2 of the kids in my youth group, who was an accountant, financial advisor, and said, I'm gonna help you get your finances together. Cause you pour into my kids. And if it wasn't for Giovanna helping me get my finances together back here, I wouldn't be able to take this position today and live here today. My move to Freeport and all the ministry I've done, me paying for seminary while I went through seminary and not having any extra bills. None of that is possible without Giovanna Swisher. Our social media. I met Drew Van Buskirk. Because we were both 2 single engineers living down in this South Texas town. He got engaged, got married to this young lady named Ruth. Ruth comes down, right? I talked to Ruth about this organization called True to Life Ministries.
Yeah.
Because she needed a job. She started working there. I ended up meeting somebody, this young lady named Trisha. Trisha needs a job. I talked to her about True to Life Ministries. Trisha ends up getting her license and started to she gets her license in Texas because she had her license in Kansas, Missouri, had moved down, had to get them in. Well, so she started doing therapy. Ruth still worked there. We still partner with Ruth. Ruth decides on a career change. They move, different things of that nature. Starts a social media business. Who does our social media?
Ruth Van Buskirk.
Who manages our webpage?
Ruth Van Buskirk.
Before Ruth, there was another guy who went to the church, who played in the worship, who did that. Before him, it was one of my students who I had been a youth pastor for, who went to A&M and was in their animation department, who needed some extra money while he was in college, who used the portfolio of things he produced for my church plant to get the job where he's designing animation for Netflix anime. I can go.
It's in the house.
I can go on and on and on about the first thing I do, like on housing projects. I can go on and on and on about the first place I look when I have a need is within the body. The first place I look when I get a grant opportunity of who I can bless and be a part of this grant opportunity are people within the body that have their business and like, how can we bless them? How can we roll them into this and help grow what they do? Or they're about to launch this, how can we give them business? Even people who are not a part of our local body anymore, I still look at how to give them work first. If I have HVAC needs, the first place I go is to a person who was formerly a part of our body. And still reach out to them first and say, like, I'm gonna give you this money before I give anybody else this money.
Yep.
If I need groundwork, there's somebody in the church that has a business that I'm gonna look to first. I look at it, and because I've always seen that, and I'm like, he didn't place me in this midst and around these different circumstances and these different people and learning their stories, but I had to be willing to engage. Yeah. We're getting ready to bring We're getting ready to bring a program to Topeka that helps disconnected youth get connected with jobs and career paths and all their coaching that was created by True to Life.
Yep.
Still a relationship. And it's like those relationships and investing in that and seeing people as important and seeing the relationships with the body as important and engaging and being willing to serve and pour in. Man, those are and God is doing that for his goodwill, for his glory, to show like this is different.
Right.
And I know that even if I didn't do anything for those people, they would still love me.
Mm-hmm.
They would still love me. When I look at, man, Tyra Wallace was part of the body before she moved to Kansas City. And like, man, we got some different grants. Like, Tyra, I want to be able to continue your work that you do in the community, in the schools. I want to be able to feed into that. Different things that nature of being able to look at situations and saying like, who is God going to allow me to bless through this opportunity?
Yeah.
How does this work? And you just get in a feed pattern for that where you engage and do the healthy things that Scripture is calling us to.
Mm-hmm.
But often, man, Key Beamer works in our clinic, and she started off by volunteering. Man, I could just go on and like when I found out that Kendall did financial, I was like, Kendall, I'm gonna move all my investments with you.
Yep.
Like I'm like, hey, I'm gonna do that, and we're gonna set up Bethany. Used to lead worship for us, and she moved to Kansas City, but then she changed careers from teaching. When she was a school teacher, she had some time after school. What did she do? She was watching my kids for me. She did after school care for my kids. She changed careers, and we like, hey, we want to help provide for all the families of our staff, and so we're going to cover a certain amount of life insurance for everybody. You just started a new career, we want to give that work to you.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't go here. There's no offer that. There's no.
But the relationships are
the relationships, and I've seen her be faithful. I saw her grow here. I saw that, and I'm like, anytime that I'm going to be able to bless her, I'm going to do it because I've seen it over and over. But I saw her invest, and I saw her work through hard and grow and get to the point where she could lead a worship team. And I saw her grow where she could talk to the congregation. And I saw that over and over, and I saw the faithfulness demonstrated so I could trust her with these other things that are happening. And a lot of times we don't allow ourselves to be blessed because we won't demonstrate faithfulness and consistency and commitment and the willing to be uncomfortable and grow into something. There's a member of our team now that's a part of something that we've entrusted her with something really big, really big that'll be announced here in a couple of months. And part of me trusting them with that is because I saw her growth and her faithfulness in another area, this person. And so it's just like over and over and over again, I can tell you that. And it's like, man, the opportunities are there. And a lot of times we'll go out searching for all this stuff in other places where God has placed it with us.
Yeah. Man, and part of it is that mindset, man, of when I enter into this space going, what can I give? And I end up finding out that God is providing for me through my giving. So often, man, when we find ourselves in need, we elevate our need above our God. And because our need is so big to us, all we can see is our need, and God is saying, hey, go give. And we're like, oh, I can't give. I got too much need. And God is like, if you would be obedient. I met
Delmetrius Heron. All of our houses that we've sold through Cent have been listed through Delmetrius Heron. Every single one of them. Man, I saw Del, I saw her character, said, man, this is somebody I trust. And so I can trust her with this, like, over and over again. Like, man, I'm just telling you, like, over and over and over again, being around people, seeing and saying, like, oh, I want to be a part of, like, helping in different things of that nature in all ways I can because I've seen this person. And whether they're at our church or not at our church, I've seen this, and, man, God has placed them around me. I want to be a part of, I want to be a blessing in their life. And that just over and over and over again, man.
Man, there's this song that says, nothing times nothing equals
nothing.
So how in Acts 2 does a group of people in this emerging new cult join together, trade everything that they have, and no one have any needs. There's something miraculous that happens when we come together as God's people in community and we're willing to sacrifice what we have, not just for each other, but for God.
Bro.
But for God. And he uses that to provide. We have the prescription for flourishing, and we refuse often to be obedient.
Look, bro, I brought my house in Topeka before I had moved to Topeka. And it was through an elder for the church that brought me into town. But somebody walked through with a phone on FaceTime. But I knew because I had met this group of leaders, and I was like, well, man, if I can trust them with this and this I can buy a house through that. I just like over and over and over and over again, man. Like I'm just telling you over and over and over again. Christmas gifts for the staff, Heather Sprew. For our volunteers and different things of that nature, like over and over and over again. I'm gonna look at.
When I went to Berkeley, it was the church I grew up in. They all got together and they were like, hey, we want to send you off. We don't know how much money you're gonna need. So everyone's just going to come forth and give. The whole church came forth and gave to me, bro. When I went to go audition in Boston so I could go to Spain, the whole church came forth. It was just like, here you go. Here you go. I don't know what you're gonna need. Here you go. Here's what I got. Here you go.
I spoke at a retreat last weekend, and I spoke about how I got to my senior year and I didn't have enough money for books. And one of my friends, who was an athlete, him and his then girlfriend, who was also a scholarship athlete, had some extra grant money. And said, we prayed about it and we're gonna cover the cost of your books. And I wouldn't have been able to afford books for my last year of school if it wasn't for them. Friends with Philip and Rundle and Bode, who lead Crossover. Bible Church and Crossover Community Impact in North Tulsa. And I said, look, there are some of the people that I'll always, if at possible at all, I will drop what I'm doing to go meet a need. And I remember being in that first community group with Philip. I remember him stepping across the line. I remember Philip before he was saved and after he had stepped over the line of faith. And I remember being there on the Sunday when he got baptized, when he decided to get baptized. And I just saw his radical growth. I also saw him. Phil was one of the smartest guys you'll ever meet, bro. He was starting middle linebacker, biomedical engineering major, whatever, switched to chemical engineering, and then walked away from that to take up a math major so he would have more time to minister to other college students while he was still in college. And he was like, he had determined he was going to seminary when he finished. And so he was like, just having the extra homework and coursework that being a chemical engineer major would cause me to have will give me less ministry time. And so therefore I'm walking away from this to have more time. And I was just like, and I gotta tell you at that point, I was like, Philip, you silly.
Bro. What is wrong with you?
It was our senior year.
Oh, wow.
It was our senior year.
It's like, bro, you're almost there. What are you talking about?
I was like, bro, I'm about to go make this money.
Right.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
I'm about to go make this money. What are you talking about? And so, seeing the obedience of a Philip, a Bode, planted seeds for me to know what it looked like to follow God.
Yeah. Man, and just to let it be known, the church that I grew up at, Antioch Missionary Baptist Church, and it's Miss Dolores Anderson. Ms. Anderson, bless her heart. she came down afterwards, after everybody had given, and she was like, hey, I wanted to put mine straight in your hands. I want you to know I'm supporting you. And man, Miss Anderson was just something special, man. But man, we would love to hear some of y'all stories. Where have y'all seen the faithfulness of God through his church, or where have y'all learned some things, learned some lessons, or what are you still learning? Man, we're here for the whole conversation, for the journey and not just the destination. But continue to comment, like, subscribe, jump in, and let's have that conversation here in our community. And we'll see you again next week.
In the intersection.